Hello, you join us here at the Hub, Westminster, in the middle of London. I'm joined by Patrick van der Vorst, founder and creator of ValueMyStuff.com. How are you doing, Patrick?
Very well, thank you.
Lovely. So, firstly, for anybody that's not quite familiar with your website, do you want to briefly outline what it is and what it does?
Basically, on our website, we value any art and antiques within 48 hours for a set fee of £7.50 per item, and we've got a pool of 62 experts now.
Right.
95% of them have worked for Sotheby's, Christie's, so you get basically the top level expertise very fast and at a very affordable price.
Yeah. So, like you yourself, you're also working at Sotheby's.
Yeah, exactly. I worked there for 13 years, where I ran the furniture department.
Right. Okay. And that stood you in good stead. I mean, was it an idea you've always had, so to speak, or was it an idea that gradually developed while working?
It was an idea that gradually developed. I mean, when working at Sotheby's, you do realise that a lot of people are intimidated by the word Sotheby's or Christie's, and even though they have something perfectly legitimate that those auction houses would love to sell, there's sort of a fear of people to approach these big auction houses. And that's when the ideas started growing. How can you make that sort of top level expertise affordable to everybody?
Right, so you're kind of almost, in a sense, bridging a gap and filling what seems like a unique space in the market. Is there anybody else like that?
Well, a unique space in the online market, yes. There are a lot of people there, sort of independent valuers, who would value either Chinese art or furniture or paintings, but there's not really a one-stop place where you can value and your sports memorabilia, your African art, oceanic art, just anything. And that's, I think, the success of the website, that literally you can just come to our website and submit even the most obscure things, and there will be an expert there who will be able to help you.
It's interesting that you've gone from a very traditional workplace that's been around for presumably hundreds of years, the whole kind of auction, and you've moved into the very cusp of modern technology and business. How have you found that transition?
Very exciting, to be perfectly honest. It's difficult, but it's very exciting. It's difficult in the sense that, yes, you are dealing with a subject of art and antiques that is very traditional in its very definition, but then it's very exciting to try and convert that into sort of basically put it in a new dress or a new sort of cloak, and it's an ongoing challenge, because what we're trying to do now is create other revenue streams to our basic valuation website.
Okay.
And again, there, with each thing that we do want to be as creative and as innovative as we can, and that's the exciting part of it.
Yeah, and of course that's helped in part by your investments, your investors, I should say.
Yes, no, absolutely.
That was that came about from the Dragon's Den.
Yeah,
of course. Do you want to talk us through that experience? How was that?
The actual experience of walking up the stairs. Oh, yeah. Well, that was a very scary experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to admit, and I don't easily sort of get nervous, to be perfectly honest, but that was quite nerve-wracking. So we had to be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I only went in at 7 o'clock in the evening, so there was a 12-hour wait.
Right. Okay.
And then for the first time, you see the 5 dragons there. I think the pitch went sort of all right, and then all the questions were fired at me. And what you see on television is basically an edited 10-minute version, but I was in there for just over 2 hours.
Right. Okay.
And I have to say, yes, they do drill down to the business, your plans, my personal background, the ideas, the future of the business, etc. So in a funny way, once you've sort of done the first 10 minutes of your pitch, it's actually slightly less scary in reality, because you're there for 2 hours, and it's not that they're there for 2 hours sort of sort of on your back or whatever. So it's a quite amicable exchange up to a certain point. And of course it was great then to be able to walk out with the investment from Deborah and Theo.
Absolutely, and it's a lot. I mean, the reason they drilled down so deeply is because there is a lot of money at stake, and they want to be sure that you're confident in your own business.
Yes.
Why you were there for 2 hours.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So how has that investment helped? How have you distributed those funds, and how have the influence of the Dragons on board helped you?
Well, there's firstly the money side of things. So the £100,000 has enabled us to do further development to the website, to to do even more advertising, more promotion. We even run a television ad campaign, and really analyze all the data that we collated together. So yes, so the £100,000 has been extremely useful. But then I would say even more importantly is just to get all the business acumen and the experience from Deborah and Theo, and that's really invaluable. Because I think with anybody who starts up a business, you have sort of plenty ideas that run off in a million different directions, and the good thing about working with Deborah and Theo is that you can sort of float 20 ideas to them and they say those 18 just forget about them immediately, let's focus on those two. So it just focuses your mind, and that's really been fantastic.
So are they very much involved in it, and specifically Deborah?
They are very much involved, and Deborah is very involved, and not just with time, they even put more money into the business, which is fantastic. But yes, I think we speak nearly every 2 weeks.
Right.
We email on a weekly basis, and I think by the very nature of what we do with the arts and antiques, it's also fun for them, for us to talk about it, to say like, oh, we value the golf ball today at £5,000, or there's a special coin that we valued at £200, and the client didn't know what it was. So by its very nature, it's sort of a fun business to talk about.
Absolutely, yeah. And looking at the website, it seems like it's very accessible to people. So you must get all sorts of different things.
We get all sorts of different things. Yes.
What? Talk us through some of the oddest things you've got.
Oh, the oddest things, probably the oddest would be a medieval chastity belt.
Wow.
That the client thought was sort of like an implement for horses, and then our works of art expert got quite excited actually, and he said, well, that's quite a rare sort of thing, and that was valued, I think, at £2,000 to £3,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
One of the earliest golf balls in existence, that was £5,000 to £8,000.
What did that look like?
Just a nearly black sort of golf ball, actually.
Wow!
But it was in very good condition. It had barely been used, so that's why it was quite rare. One of the earliest football tickets, I think, in 1886.
Really?
Football tickets.
Wow, that's incredible.
I don't know.
And presumably the other side, you get a lot of.
We do get a lot of very interesting items. Then there's also on the more academic side, we discovered a Van Gogh.
Really?
At £2 million.
No.
Yeah, we valued the money at £1 million. And I think when you look at sort of the top end of the market of what we value, then it's really people using our services who don't particularly want to go to the auction houses, who say, okay, the problem is if I ask an estimate from either Sotheby's, Christie's, Bonhams, then they will actually start chasing me to sell my picture. They know where that picture is. Right. And as we're not in the business of selling things, we literally just value the piece and then leave the client in peace as well.
Of course, another thing, I think I remember my nan going back a few years now saying that she couldn't quite trust the dealer in the shop because she knew he wanted to buy it off of her. Kind of
So
that's
there's an element of that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The dealers will always want to quote very low because they don't want to put a profit in it. Sometimes the auction houses might want to quote very, very high, so that if they are in competition with other auction houses for quite an exquisite picture, they will get the picture because they've given the highest estimate. And the danger there is if you quote too high, it doesn't sell at auction. But the painting has been seen by everyone, and it sort of burns your painting basically.
Well, moving back then briefly to the format of your business. It's an online business, and popular sources of revenue now. People building websites every day. What is it that makes that difficult for an entrepreneur to build an online company?
The difficulty is to determine your target audience, I think. I mean, my target audience is not really, I'm not after clients who already go to Sotheby's or Christie's or who already go to the local auctioneers. So my target audience is literally people who want to find out the value of from the convenience of their own sort of home. They don't know anybody in auction houses. So that's sort of my target market. And I think, having spoken to other online sort of entrepreneurs or whatever you want to call them, I think that's the biggest problem is to be able to target your audience that you want to target, and once you know who you want to target, then you can build a website. You can choose sort of the colors, and if you want to make your website look very accessible or very premium, etc., and all these things sort of are then deducted from that.
Yeah, and of course the function of your website, the sort of back end, if you like, having all of these experts, that must be quite difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
Work.
When you go to our website, the front end, what you see when you land on our website, it looks very simple, very clean, very easy to use. But the back end is actually quite complex, because literally if you upload an item for us to value, it comes in our central administration. They send it out then to an expert. The expert then pings it back to us. We do a final check and then send it back to the client. So behind the scenes, it's quite sort of an extensive and quite a complex build.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we'll end on that complex note. Patrick,
Great.
Thanks very much for joining us.
No, you're more than welcome.
Thank you.